Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup here on the SimShed Broadcasting Network. We are here at round 4 of the chase for the championship of this season for the Cup here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're just going to be jumping into qualifying, but before we do, we're just going to have a quick run through on the standing in the chase at the moment. Jason Martin leads with Josh Mickelmore behind him, Ed Foster third with Hamish Gallagher fourth. In joint fourth place with Michael Skurlock. Sixth is Danny G. Seventh is Jason Hardigan. Eighth is Stephen Williams with ninth Norman Clark. Bradley Allison is in 10th with Matt Hunter 11th. And that is our run through. Yes, so we're off to qualifying now. Away we go. So also joining me in the booth tonight, as ever, is Mr. JP. How's it going, JP?
Absolutely fantastic there, Carl. Thanks. Thanks for the introduction. Yep, should be another great night of racing tonight. Really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it should be an exciting one tonight. It could be a very tricky one here tonight as well, as there are some changes to the tyre models. It seems to be a constant thing that we say. But the tyre models have changed slightly on these Cup cars. So expect to see some trouble with that for a couple of drivers.
Yeah, iRacing seem to like to change that tyre model on a regular basis and really mix it up for these guys.
They do indeed. It keeps them nice and on their toes at the moment. Foster setting some good fast time as he comes across the line. One of the first cars to set a time with Joshua Carroll Walden up there. JC Dong just getting first. This second run should be the fast run though. So the second run is going to be a faster run here at Las Vegas generally. Tyres are a little bit funny tonight, so you might see people struggling a little bit just for pace if they do overheat those tyres. We'll just catch up with Foster here, see how he goes on that second run. He's currently a tiny bit down. We'll see if he can pick up that couple of tenths in this last section, which he does. Good job on Foster there, getting up there. Danny G nipping ahead of him with a 29.998 there. Great lap by Danny G as well. So good speed from him tonight. A few others just heading out. We've got Josh Mickelmore out on the track as well. No doubt he's going to be jumping up the timing screens very shortly once he gets across the line. And a little bit slower on that first lap down there in 12th, but expect to see him climbing up the boards for this second lap.
Yeah, you can see a lot of green sectors at the moment with these cars. Josh is on a looks like he's on a good one.
Yeah, a bit of a flyer here for Josh. We usually see Josh doing quite well, getting up there a bit in timing. And gets him up to 5th this time round. So a little bit lower than he'd want to start, I'd imagine. He does like to get those poles. But he, a little bit further down, Danny G at the moment, the top Mitch Motorsport boy. Michael Skurlock now out on the track as well. Skurlock very, very quick as well, as we all know. Can be one of those drivers that will get things done. Also, Jason Martin too, who's going to be jumping his way up to the timing screen. We'll see how he finishes with that, up into 3rd at the moment. And Skurlock's first lap is going to jump him up into ninth place at the moment. Very nice for that first lap. This could be a good second lap for him here. We'll see how he goes on that one. Obviously, these very fast tracks, you sort of build up speed as you're going around. So that first lap, when you're on the slightly colder tyres as well, you've got to build up that speed and get everything up to temperature, also up to speed. And this second lap, you usually got a couple of extra miles per hour under the belt, and that jumps him up to 7th. So not a huge gain there for Skurlock. Jason Martin jumping up into P3 as well. So Martin up there quite high. We got Michael Schroeder at the moment out on track 2. So just now jumping through and checking who's out on the track, things like that now.
Yeah, and P3 for Jason Martin. That's going to play into his hands. He'll be right behind Danny G there for the start.
He will be. That's going to be quite useful because the draft is going to be quite powerful here. It's going to be quite a strong one tonight. Drafting can really help you on these tracks because they are just so very fast. You can get a little bit of advantage there. Good lap from Michael Schroeder. They're getting up to an unlucky for some, but lucky for him tonight, P13. And I think that's the last of our qualifiers.
Looks like Riley might be on a second lap, but he's not. No, he's out of it for the second lap, so he's done his qualifying run too.
Not enough time to squeeze in there, so everything is set. So let's run through that starting order for you. So on the front row of the grid, we have Danny G and Edward Foster. Great qualifying for Foster. Good to see him getting a good qualifying session. Second row of the grid, we have a Jason Martin with Jason Hartigan matchup. Third row is Joshua Carroll Walden with Josh Micklemore. Michael Skurlock and Barry Neal in the fourth row. Fifth row is Stephen Williams, Riley Curtis. Sixth is Mirko Dortnack with Lachlan Urquio. Seventh row is Schroeder and Clark. Eighth row is Rosewell and Wilson. Ninth row is Phil Otto and Patterson. 10th is Bradley Allison and Raymond Yeager. 11th is Bill Hickey, Matt Hunter. 12th is Jason Williams, Hamish Gallagher. And on the last row of the grid, Tristan Koch and Michael Shaw. So, big field out there tonight, 26 cars. As I say, very fast track. It's going to be a bit of a tyre-dependent race tonight. Tyres are going to be a big importance here, especially with this new tyre modelling. It's going to change some people's driving style. Some people will adapt to it quicker than others, no doubt. It's not a huge change, but any change does disrupt your car for you.
And just heard from Trevor Micklemore that Josh Micklemore, 31's, not feeling very well tonight. He's a little crook tonight, so he's hoping for the best finish that he can.
We will wish him luck there tonight. It's never fun having to race when you're not feeling well. So good job for him getting up into, well, even a sick Josh Micklemore can get up into the top 6 in qualifying. That's the power of Micklemore. He is very strong even when he is feeling unwell, but hopefully he'll have a good race and won't do a Mark Webber.
Yeah, absolutely. A unwell Micklemore is probably a hell of a lot faster than a very well JP.
That's it. No doubt he's faster than the both of us, no doubt, without too much trouble. Off we go then on to the gridding lap, and the starting lineup is ready to go. A lot of drivers for the chase up there as well, so that's good to see. Going to be interesting to see how they all perform tonight, because of course the chase means that you're basically racing your own race. Those top 11 drivers are racing their own championship now, and they really just have to worry about each other. So they're hungry to try and get a bit of a jump over Jason Martin, who's starting to get a little bit of a lead in that championship now.
Yeah, absolutely. So really interesting to see what transpires tonight. I know these guys are trying to eke out a bit of a lead and break away. So the guys behind them are certainly not going to want to let them do that.
We've got some very hungry drivers as well in the pack, wanting to get some more wins under their belt. Foster, as always, wanting to try and get those cup wins. He's had a very successful season in the Grand National season, taking that one out with almost winning City at every race. But a strong season for him there. He just wants to get those wins in the cup, though, and he just feels like he's missed out on a couple. Pace car peels in, green flag's going to go out, and Danny G is going to lead us away for the Las Vegas Motor Speedway race for the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup.
Yeah, and a nice getaway there, and everyone's gotten away cleanly, so this is fantastic.
Looked like Foster might have just missed a gear, or just drops a little bit there. He dropped back very quick. But what I'm thinking is he might have actually dropped back to get in line with his teammate. Just letting Martin pass him and getting back to Jason Hartigan, so those two can start working together much quicker. Joshua Carroll Walden's also sitting there, of course, just behind Josh Micklemore. Josh Micklemore, importantly, stopping those cars getting into their own little lineup. Micklemore will no doubt want to try to get with the Mitch Motorsport boys and start getting a bit of a queue working for them. Low line is going to be the chosen and preferred line. I think Foster's lost a bit of grip. He's spun it. He's managed to keep it going. Good save by Foster, but that's going to cost him a huge amount of pace. He's going to drop really far down the pack from that one.
Yeah, this is really going to hurt him. He's going to have his work cut out for him from here on in.
Yeah, brilliant qualifying session, and just really unfortunate incident there. The back end just slid away a little bit. Same thing happened for Murphy Jordan as well, just coming onto the front straight, and we've got a car around in the background. I'm trying to see who it is. A couple of cars off in the background of Hamish Gallagher's involved in that.
Philato dropped down, but I don't know if he was involved in that. I didn't see on my replay sheet here.
Yeah, I think Jason Williams is involved in that, but there was a car that was actually going around. Somebody checked up actually because they saw a car spinning, and Jason Williams went straight into the back of him. That would have been Michael Shaw went into the back of him as well. So Hamish Gallagher slowed down for the car that was just spinning in front of him.
Sorry, Carl. Jason Martin has just gone high there, and he's dropped back quite a bit, and he seems to kind of be out of the groove there, dropping back a bit.
Yeah, just running up high there. Didn't touch the wall or anything. Maybe he's just wanting to drop back a little bit. Maybe he's just not liking the way these tyres are starting to fade away a little bit now. He's got speed again. Strange one there for Martin. We've seen this a couple of times actually from Jason. Some slight little mistakes which are unusual for him. Just went up a bit high, I think, and just lost the grip of the car. I know he was running a bit of a high line in practice today as well. So he might have just been trying to get that high line working, and it's just not there yet for him. Again, he's up high, he's right on that high line again. So I think he wants to try and get that high line working for himself, because he might feel a bit more confident out there than the low line. But at the moment, it's not really going to work too well for him. So you might see him just dropping back a little bit for a couple of laps, and then he'll start working his way back up the field. Speaking of working their way back up the field, Foster is up into 14th now. So he's managed to get good recovery there, and he's next to Adam Rosell, getting underneath him, getting past him, and catching up to his teammate Lachlan Erkvio.
And you saw there, Jason Hardigan is looking very, very racy indeed. He's taken the high line now, and he's trying to get past Danny G.
Yeah, running up high, trying to get a little bit better drive off the corner there. Danny G taking the tighter turn, obviously less track to have to go around in that tighter area, but you have to turn the wheel a little bit harder, so you struggle with the speed up, and you're seeing that now as Jason Hardigan gets past him. Back end just steps out ever so slightly there for Hardigan as he comes onto the back straight. He keeps it perfectly pointing forwards though, and has managed to make that move work. Brilliant job from Hardigan to get up into the lead.
Absolutely, and what a phenomenal looking car with that new Dragon RC livery on that vehicle, that ZL1.
Those scales are fantastic, I must say. I do love them. Skurlock looking a bit racy at the back there against Joshua Carroll Walden as well, and Stephen Williams just hanging on to the back of them as well. We've seen Stephen Williams having some good races over the last couple of weeks, having some good results as well. So he's just sitting there, the silent assassin, just sitting there waiting for stuff to happen, not pushing it too hard at the moment. Danny G's going to look to try and get the high side working now, and he's doing the feint. He's just going up the line, trying to make Hardigan have to defend a little bit more. Jason's not really taking the bait. Oh, so close to the barrier again for Hardigan. He's not taking the bait there, but he is running very much on the edge, Jason Hardigan. He has got some serious pace, but very much running close to that barrier at the moment.
Yeah, he's certainly not mucking about, and what we're seeing is that none of these guys at the pointy end here are mucking around tonight. We're used to seeing Michael Skurlock sort of buy his time a little bit down the mid-pack of the field, and then towards the tail end of the race start to make a move and get to the front. But tonight he wants to stay. He wants to stay with the leaders.
Yeah, he definitely wants to keep up there and keep with that lead pack. When you've got quite a lot of cars out there as well, especially when the car is this loose, You've just got to be so careful mid-pack because it's so easy to have an accident. You see some of the cars now dropping down, cutting across the oval, the infield of the oval there, just trying to square off that corner a little bit, get a little bit more exit speed through there. Can be dangerous though, because as you come back onto the oval, the car can get very unstable, and things can really go a bit array there. So you've got to be a bit careful of that. But at the moment, Josh Micklemore is making it work, and he's starting to catch up with his teammate Danny G at the moment. You can see Skurlock's also doing a similar approach now as they come through.
And you can see there at the head of the field, Hardigan just using that high line a little bit more, although Danny G is just trying to get underneath him now, so it just didn't work that time around.
Oh, and we got a caution out.
Looks like Billy Hickey. Let's see if we can go to our replay.
See if we can catch up with that one.
Yeah, just had a tank slapper coming out of there and tried to catch it and put himself into the wall, and that was all she said.
Unfortunate incident there, and that's what we were talking about before. He's just clipped the apron on the exit of the turn 4 there, and that's what set the car spinning around. Just clipped the apron there, unsettled the car, and it is very hard to recover from that position. This is going to be a breath of relief from the leaders, though. They were starting to get very racy there, and they'll be able to just take a little bit of a break now, stretch their fingers out, get a little bit of a drink, come into the pit lane and get some fresh tyres on. That's going to be one of the big things for them now, because fresh tyres at this stage of the race are going to be quite important. Now remember, these drivers only have 4 sets of tyres. So they only have 4 sets of tyres. So, they have done the dummy. Danny G and the Mitch Motorsport boys are staying out of Danny G, Josh Micklemore, Skurlock. So we've got some different strategies happening now. Mirko Dortnack as well sticking out there. So a few drivers choosing to pit, a few drivers choosing to stay out there. We're going to see now what the difference is. As I said, these drivers only have 4 sets of tyres to use for the night. So these drivers that have come in now are going to be changing their tyres, slapping on some new ones, and then getting back out into the race. So that could help them out. Now, whether they change tyres or not, that's going to be the question. I'll just see if I can keep an eye on the pit lane. Looks like everybody's changing rights.
And you saw there, it looked like Jason Martin didn't put tyres on. He just stopped for fuel.
Yeah, so some very different strategies tonight. A lot of different strategies out there tonight, in fact. That is very interesting to see. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys do on the restart. Now, track position is king sometimes. That's a big thing of motorsport, is track position really can help out. So,
now, interesting question for you here, Carl. I thought I saw Jason Martin get to the control line before Jason Hardigan, so will Jason have a signal to let Martin back in front of him?
Oh, that is a good question. We'll have to look, see how close that one is. If it was, it was very close. Looks like Martin might have had it there. It's by a cigarette paper there, but you might find that Martin gets the wave around. We'll have to see on that one, because it was very close on that one.
So I'm just sitting here with these guys now to see if Martin gets the wave around. It looks like they might be starting to form up, or they've got one more lap, I think.
Be one more lap, yep. So we'll have one more lap before they start forming up. Might just be, trying to work that one out now. Just might be because they were sort of their positions side by side. Maybe Martin's going to get the low line to start on, which would be the preferential line, I imagine. So not sure on that one. We'll see how that goes. The intricacies of the AI stewards are a tricky one to work out sometimes.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't have expected them to come in and take tyres this early in the piece with four sets of tyres for the race. I don't know.
Well, it's a 133 lap race, of course, tonight, so it's a long race. coming in this early, it's going to give you a bit of an advantage early on. So you can see that they've dropped down to what, P11. P11 is where Jason Hardigan is now. So they've dropped down a little bit. So they're going to have to do some racing to get back up to the front of the field. But tyre drop off is quite huge from what I'm hearing from everybody tonight. So the tyre deck is up there. Now, they might have shot themselves in the foot with coming in this early because, as you say, they've only got 3 sets of tyres now that they can slap on the car. But coming in this early does leave you to some options as well. So if there's a caution in the next couple of laps, you might see the leaders come in and the rest of the crews will stay out. There'll be a little bit of difference, but not too much. If there's a caution in, say, 20, 25 laps, then that could affect the guys that stayed out there on those older tyres, depending on how fast those new tyres are. If we see those new tyres just zipping off and getting past them at an incredible speed, then we'll know who's made the right call. But then it can come back to bite them at the end of the race, because if we get a late caution, those guys that didn't stop can then come in and put on those fresh tyres. So it's all that thing of a bit of a gamble, really. And you either get it right or you get it wrong in gambling. There's no in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it pays off for them.
Yes, it's going to make it interesting. That's one thing for sure. Pace car comes in, green flag will come out, and Danny G will lead them away again. We've seen this from Mitch Motorsport before, waiting a bit of time before they drop the loud pedal. And Danny G sets off with a great launch there from Michael Skurlock. Just underneath Josh Mickelmore. Skurlock's going to take the corner and get the position here, probably, if he can keep that car pointing nice and straight. Now, those on the slightly older tyres have to get the tyres back up to temperature as well, of course. The cars that got the tyres in the pits have to get them up to temperature as well, and because they all have gone on nice and cold, it'll take a little bit longer for them to switch on, but when they switch on we should see some cars coming up the field.
You can already see Jason Hardigan. He's in 8th place now, and he's all over the back of Raymond Jaeger. It looks like he's going to make that move fairly easy on Jaeger.
Yeah, down the inside of Jaeger very quickly there, and Foster as well, just way back there fighting with Barry Neal at the moment. Foster sort of caught in a bit of a tight spot. He's got Matt Hunter on his outside. He's almost got to go free wide. He's got Jason Martin right behind him as well. So Foster's managed to get ahead of Martin crucially there. That's going to make him kind of happy for that. But there is a lot of cars that are very much in the way. And a big crash at the back of the field. Big hit at the back of the field. Michael Shaw was involved in that one as well. He got just clipped, I think.
Could have been Billy Hickey and Jason Williams involved in that, and
yeah, Bill Hickey's just gone round. He's hit the apron again, and lost the back end. Gone around, lost it. Real big side snap there. Car just snapped out there, and yeah, really unfortunate for the drivers caught up in that one. They just had nowhere to go there.
yeah, absolutely, and that's like you said, that well, safety car, well, pace cars breed pace cars because it's not a safety car in stock car racing. It's a pace car, isn't it?
That's it. We always have to keep slapping you guys on the wrist, letting you know the correct pronunciation. It's terrible.
Yeah.
When I'm pronouncing it right, you've got a problem.
Us guys that like to turn left and right, yeah, well, you just got to keep educating us.
We do indeed. Although we will be turning left and right in a couple of races' time, because we will be at Charlotte Roval. Sorry, we'll be at the Charlotte Roval after Talladega. So not the next race, the race after that will be at the Roval. So these guys will be having their first road race for the chase. So expect to see some interesting things in that one. Now, leaders haven't pitted in this time round. They're staying out. They've decided they're going to keep it out there and not worry about that. Tristan Koch, I think, just coming down the pit lane now. So Koch just coming in to maybe top up with a little bit of fuel, something like that. Don't think he'll get tyres right now. Doesn't seem to be much damage on his car, if any. So I think he's just going to top it up with gas and then head on out. So he's just getting a little bit of fuel just to get a little bit longer in the race.
And not bad movement there from Jason Hartigan, starting 11th. I think what he had they had a couple of laps of green there, and he's managed to get all the way to 6th. So his tyres are still going to be pretty good, I'd say. So watch out for him on the restart.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how those guys go, because just behind him as well, you've got Mirko Dornak and then JCW, Josh Carroll Walden, with those fresh tyres. Raymond Jaeger then sits there, and then we've got another set of fresh tyres with Barry Neal as well. So quite a few of those fresh tyre set guys getting up there. But you see how perilous it can be racing in the mid-pack, and that's sometimes when just having that little bit of a chance of clean air can be a good thing, because you don't have to worry so much about incidents. That's always the problem when you're racing a little bit down in the pack, because it's so easy to have an accident happen, and it's never a fun thing to be a passenger in one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm almost thinking that Jason Martin, even though he's sitting in 14th, he's kind of in the box seat there. He's gone in and topped up some fuel, which means ultimately he's going to be standing still for the least amount of time on his last stop. And I don't think he's taken tyres, so he's got 4 sets of tyres to play with.
Yeah, Martin getting some okay-ish pace off there, but he did fall behind a couple of drivers, I think. Didn't get quite as good launch when they restarted, but he does have that fuel topped up, which is a good thing for him. Tristan Koch as well, he's got some fuel in there. He went in there, topped up with fuel, sitting at the back of the grid. Just get that little bit of extra fuel in, because it could mean the difference between you pitting on a green lap or in a caution. So these little manoeuvres can be very useful to do. So we'll see how that shakes out when it comes to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that that a driver with Jason Martin's caliber, he knows how to look after his tyres, so he can go those extra few laps on the tyres.
Yeah, Jason Martin is annoyingly good at keeping his tyres fresh. It's one of those skills that you're always in awe at when you're watching it, and you're always annoyed at when you're racing against it. That's the best way I can put it. It's a tough thing to do racing these guys. It's not easy, as I've experienced this season in a few races, and they are very, very quick. It's a very different skill, and it is very, very hard. You know, just the nose to bumper, side to side constantly is very tricky. But when you're somebody like Jason Martin, who he's so smooth on the car as well, that's something that is not so apparent when you're looking outside of it. But if you sort of jump in and you see Jason sort of turning the wheel from the in-car cockpit view, you notice he's very smooth with his turns. He's got a very he doesn't turn the car aggressively. He's very smooth on the cornering, and he has a very slight turn as well, which all helps keep those tyres nice and new, basically. So they're all lining up again, 2 by 2, getting ready for the restart. It's a Mitch Motorsport. Sorry, it's not a Mitch Motorsport. Sorry, it's Danny G with Michael Skurlock there. So Pace Syndicate on the outside for Skurlock with that fantastic Apple-inspired livery car. I really like that paint job on Skurlock's car. It's a very pretty little retro colouring.
Yeah, it's a good-looking car. And I was just noticing too, the camera angles for this track are absolutely phenomenal. So a shout out to the guys from Track Cams to Gourmet for helping us out with these awesome camera angles.
As always, bringing us the best-looking restarts for the series, and away Danny G goes, and you get a great look at that with those beautiful track cams. Much appreciated with those, because they do look absolutely fantastic. Danny G just gets a fantastic launch. Skurlock loses out a bit of time there. Josh McMillan's got underneath him. Skurlock's got Stephen Williams now for company. Will Stephen Williams start to make up places? Riley Curtis up in a good spot at the moment. Nice to see Riley Curtis up there at the pointy end of the grid as well. Jason Hartigan just forcing his way past now. You can see those fresh tyres. He's just driving on the outside there, and he's just got ridiculous amounts of extra grip there. You can just see he's just able to just force that car around those guys. So Hartigan's already up into 4th.
Yeah, he wasted no time on the restart there, and he's just basically muscled his way through those cars. And JCW is doing the same thing. He's going down on the low line now, and getting around Steve Williams, making that look fairly easy.
Yeah, great moves there. They're doing a good job. Person that's a little bit caught out at the moment is Foster, but he's trying to get underneath Riley Curtis now. He's managed to get a little bit of clean air. He got caught up a little bit behind Raymond Diego in the new Ever One Motorsport car. But now he's managed to get past him and managed to start catching up. And you can just see right here Jason Hardigan coming underneath Sculler already. This has got been 1.5 laps of green flag racing, and Hardigan's gone from the midfield to the front. Soon he'll be up there with Josh Micklemore and Danny G. He's got some great pace. So at the moment, those guys that took tyres are looking pretty smart.
Yeah, it's definitely working for him. He's looking really racy. He's fast, and I dare say he's feeling a little confident too.
Yeah, definitely looks to be having some confidence out there now. He's got speed, Jason Hardigan. He is very fast, and especially on road courses. But now he's picked up the oval skill as well, which is a scary thing for us, because he didn't need to be any faster, and somehow he's managing it. So Jason Hardigan just coming up with the fine Josh Micklemore now. He's going to try and get him going on the downside. He's trying to turn underneath him. Just gently, just touch the back of Josh Micklemore there. Just caught the back of Micklemore, and everybody's had to check up a little bit there. Micklemore just managing to save the car. Very well done. Hardigan just got caught just underneath the back of Micklemore there, just the slightest of touches. Micklemore did a brilliant job of saving that car, and everybody behind him did a great job of checking up, because that could have been an almighty crash.
And now Hardigan's found himself at the head of the field, and it looks like he's going to try and see if he can check out now.
Yeah, he's going to do his best to try and get out of Dodge while he can. He's got that tyre advantage, and he wants to use that to his advantage, of course. And one thing for him now is, between himself and Danny G are two teammates of Joshua Carroll-Walden and F. Good Foster. Those guys are going to start making some good pace, and they're going to be able to check out now. So if it remains green, this could be the moment where things come together for them. Josh Micklemore's dropped down all the way to 10th, and is now with his teammate Jason Martin, who's just going underneath Raymond Yeager now. Martin's sort of trying to recover from that early little strange wiggle that he had. Just lost a bit of pace earlier on in this race. Must have just sort of gone a bit wide and had to lift off a bit too much. But they're starting to get closer, but they've got a big pack of guys racing around them. People like Barry Neal, Lachlan Inokrio. They're all fighting as Lachlan Inokrio goes into Barry Neal, manages to keep it. A little bit of a side swipe there. Looks like the cars are just getting very unsettled when they get close to each other.
Yeah, just a real fortunate save there. Barry, I think Barry sort of knew what was going on and had a little tiny lift and let Lachlan go. Better to save the car and lift the fight on.
Absolutely. At the front of the field now, Joshua Carroll-Walden and Edward Foster have both got past Danny G, and this is going to be the time for the JP Simshed boys to try and check out. Joshua Carroll-Walden had a little bit of a mistake on the turn number 2, just the car got a little bit tail happy for him, but now these guys can start trying to check out. If they can start running a little bit closer together, make a bit of a gap for themselves, if the race remains green from here, this could pay off in a big way for those guys.
And it looks like Foster's starting to make headway gains on Hardigan here, so I don't know if Hardigan's easing up a little bit for Foster. I really don't think so. But yeah, they're going to be together soon, and they're going to start helping each other.
Well, we have seen tonight Foster has got some really good speed. He was on the front row of the grid alongside Danny G, who's also showing some great speed tonight and is still hanging on to the back of Joshua Carroll-Walden there, even though he's on 15-lap older tyres. So yeah. Great job from him.
Yeah, and the one thing we have seen with Foster is he's another one of those drivers that knows how to take care of his tyres, and he's having a look here. He's looking underneath Hardigan.
Looks like he's going to go through, and Hardigan is going to drop back into second. Foster's going to take the lead here. Now, Hardigan had a few laps there in the lead, so maybe a little bit orchestrated for those guys just to sort of swap positions. We'll see how they go from here, because if Hardigan's happy to sit there for a little bit, this will help with fuel saving as well. Because while Hardigan was pushing forwards and sitting out in the exposed air, of course, that will use up a little bit more fuel than you'll want to. So you can swap around with teammates and get those positions changed and help yourself keep the fuel mileage down. But at the moment, 4 cars have checked out at the front of Foster, Hartigan, Carol Walden and Danny G. Skurlock now is leading that sort of second pack, and those are the guys that had to check up when Josh Mickelmore had his moment after Jason Hartigan just put him on the left-hand side of the rear. But those guys checked up a little bit and can see how much time they've lost with that.
Yeah, and although they've lost that time, I'm pretty sure Skurlock's not going to be too worried. He's going to be doing his thing, making sure he circulates at the pace that he wants to. He always has a plan, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And Lachlan Urquio is now in 6th place. Great to see him come up. I say it every week. It's great to see Lachlan getting up there, getting into the top 5, top 10. He's had some rotten luck in the last few rounds. Really hoping that he can put one together and finish close to the pointy end tonight.
Yeah, that's it. It's nice to see those drivers with less starts under their belt, with slightly newer to the grid than others. Barry Nail as well. Barry Nail's had not had many races this year, and he's been showing some great speed out there too. With the Cognitive RS Racing team, getting some good speed out there, and he's up in P9 at the moment. Just looking through the field as well, looks like all of the slightly old dogs have got their sort of top positions at the moment. Not many of the sort of younger guys in there, the newer drivers in there. A few sitting a little bit lower down at the moment, but there is a long way to go still in this race. At the moment, though, Foster is just pulling out a huge gap with Jason Hartigan, Joshua Carroll and Danny G have just dropped off a little bit from Hartigan and Foster. Back a bit further, you've got Lachlan Urquio, who has pulled ahead of Skurlock now. He's going to be leading that pack, and of course Lachlan's on those fresh tyres. So how much of a difference are those fresh tyres going to make? We're going to see now as he pulls away from Skurlock.
Yeah, and you can see Foster and Hartigan there, Hartigan right up to the back of Foster's car. They're obviously working together, and they're starting to pull a gap.
Jumping back to Danny G and JCW. Danny G is just making a great move down the inside of JCW there. He gets a little bit of a lateral slide. You can see it in the background. But Danny G there getting a great run on JCW, getting underneath him there. And he's really having to manhandle that car around. Obviously, those tyres are not happy at the moment, and they're not doing their best. But he is just getting that car into a great position and side drafting at the moment. Danny G might be able to get this position.
I'm sure if you asked Danny G and asked him about his worn tyres, he'd say, what worn tyres? He's another one that it doesn't matter, whether he's got worn tyres, his tyres are a little bit lower than the other guys. He's just going to fight tooth and nail, and he never, ever gives up.
Put as much of that fight in as possible, but what he's got to watch out for is, just as we saw there, coming across the pit entry, as he did start to slide up towards JCW, and that's because those tyres are losing the grip. The adhesion is starting to fall away on them, and that's where he's going to struggle, is just coming out of the corners. And when you're racing somebody, you don't want to wreck them, but you do want to get that position. Danny G just having to drop back now, but yeah, his car was getting a little bit too loose there. It was sliding up the track, and he was starting to struggle a little bit there.
Yeah,
he's going to let those tyres cool down and then make another attack, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys have got no love. There's no love lost between them when they're racing, but there's plenty of respect there on the field.
Very much so. A lot of respect throughout the series, really, and absolutely lovely guys to race, because you see it sometimes where we do have the odd crunch into each other, but it is very much I'm really sorry after the race thing, and everybody knows it is racing. When you're racing your hardest, accidents will happen. Just jumping back a little bit to 6th place now, we have Riley Curtis, who's doing a great job there, just following up with here. He's just between Urquio and Skurlock at the moment. Riley Curtis starting 10th. He's got up to 6th at the moment. One of the higher runs I've seen for Curtis all year. He's having a good run tonight, which is great to see. Riley, one of our well, he's been in the series for a good long time, and it's great to see Riley up there at the pointy end of the field.
Yeah, he's just slowly sort of been working his way through the field, and now he's looking pretty good where he is. He's looking pretty racy. He's holding out Skurlock, so I think his next target, of course, is going to be Urquio, and he's going to see if he can try and get on the back of his car and get around him.
Yeah, and Skurlock's just coming down. Just behind them, though, there's a good little battle between Barry Neal, Jason Martin and Micklemore. They were looking at 3 wide for a couple of moments there. Barry Neal is actually on slightly fresher tyres, I believe. He did come in with those pit stops. But those 3 guys are starting to battle pretty hard now. So some good racing going on there. It's a little bit hard to know where to look at the moment. So there's racing going all across the field between teammates and other teams and things like that. Jason Martin just getting a better run on that high line though, and managing to just get a nose ahead of his teammate. And now you've got Hamish Gallagher sitting back there thinking, oh, I fancy a little bit of this now. He's looking a bit racy too.
Yeah, and this is textbook Hamish Gallagher, you know, sitting in the back there, and now he's starting to decide, yeah, I think it's my time to make a move now. I'm going to start to work my way through the field.
Yeah, he's decided he's going to start moving up there, start putting the pressure on, start turning the screws. Back up the front of the field, Danny G's managed to get back ahead of Joshua Carroll Walden, and now we've got Riley Curtis starting to push on Lachlan Urquio as well. So Lachlan's starting to struggle a little bit now, and Riley Curtis is making the best of that, getting past him as they go across the line, and Skurlock is now getting onto that battle. He's going to get a good little toe from Riley Curtis on that low side. Urquio's got up a bit high. Looks like he's lost a little bit of grip there. And he's managed to just catch up to the back of Riley Curtis. They are racing very hard there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. He went really high, but it managed to work for him, and he was able to get a fairly decent run there.
It's almost like he surprised himself with the speed he got coming out that corner. I've seen it a couple of times tonight actually, where some drivers have just come off the edge of the corner, up from a little bit higher, and it seems to be a little bit more grippy on that very outside line. Similar line to what Jason Hartigan was using earlier on in that race. And they get almost like a launch off of it. They're like rocket ships when they get launched off of that. So that is kind of interesting to see.
Ooh,
so we'll have to see how...
A little bit of a tank slapper there from Urquio.
Yeah, he had a big moment of it would have been a mild brown alert then. Never fun to have a tank slapper in these cars because it's so easy to go around. Catching them is very hard to do, and when you can do it, it's a great feeling when you catch the spin. It's not so great when you don't. But he's managed to keep it, but this is going to be Skurlock getting underneath him. We've got a train of cars now pushing along. Barry Neal's just got caught on the outside of that. Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore are working their way up the field now, and they're starting to push up, coming up behind Urquio. So they're starting to make their move. They're starting to run a little bit hard now, because it looks like we might be looking at a green flag stop soon. So I think people have been sort of tyre saving a little bit. Just relying on a little bit of tyre saving, easing off a little bit, and now they're starting to push a little bit harder. Yeah,
this is not so good. Barry's having a bit of a moment at this stage, just blinking in and out of the screen. So hopefully that's not going to affect the guys around him too much.
No, getting a little bit of a blinky bill moment there, which is never fun to have happen. Stephen Williams is coming to the pit line actually. So Stephen Williams has pitted, so I wonder if this is the sign for our first green flag stops coming in, because he didn't pit last time round, so he's come in. We know Stephen Williams is running up pretty high as well, so we'll keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's going to give him the advantage of fresh tyres as well. And you can see here that that Foster and Hartigan have been able to open up a little bit of a lead here, but Danny G seems to be doing his best to hunt them down now. He's not much slower than Hartigan or Foster.
the tyre advantage has definitely fallen off now. So those guys are on similar pace tyre-wise. The adhesion for those tyres have just completely gone. And you can see people are just starting to look into the pit lane. Mick Wilson and Michael Shaw coming in as well. So a few people are starting to look at coming in now. So it is a great equaliser when the tyres start to drop off to that point, because you sort of hit a plateau. And it looks like the front runners have hit that plateau. And Danny G's just managed to maybe eke out a little bit of extra tyre life. He will have less fuel on board as well, so that will be helping him out too, because he'll be a bit lighter, of course, and that can have an effect as well. So Danny G will be a bit lighter than these guys, and that could be helping him out, just getting a little bit of a run at the moment.
So, looking at possible strategy for the leaders here, you're Foster and Hardigan, the cars behind you, the danger cars are always going to be Danny G, Skurlock, Jason Martin, Josh Micklemore. Do you watch what these guys do and cover them off if they pit, or do you stay out as long as you possibly can?
Well, hard question. It's one of those ones. Depends. If you're looking at taking advantage of a caution, you stay out. If you're looking to win this race, if it remains green, you go in when Danny G does, because the gap he's going to gain is going to be quite big. But of course, remember that those guys on those fresh tyres will be able to catch up again. So when they come back out, they'll be on fresher tyres. They will be able to pull back that pace. It's just going to be a bit of sort of working back from the race at the moment. So we have got a 133 lap race. So obviously you're going to want to try and eke out this stint as long as humanly possible, and see how you can go. So if you can manage to take it as long as you can, then you're going to have a shorter pit stop for the end, and hopefully make up a little bit of time in that. So probably stay out, I would say. Sorry, I'm being a bit contradictory there. I was trying to work out in my head the best way. I'd probably stay out and just keep going for a little bit longer, come back out on those fresh tyres. If the caution comes out, then you can come in as well. Riley Curtis is pitting from the top crew. So Riley Curtis coming in from 5th place now. So that's the one we've got to watch out for now, because Riley Curtis is going to be the one that's going to start pulling people like Josh Micklemore, Michael Skurlock, Jason Martin, Hamish Gallagher, Lachlan Okio, Mirko Dornak, Barry Neal, Raymond Yeager, Norman Clark, Bradley Allison, and Matt Hunter. Those guys are going to start thinking about a pit stop now. They've seen Riley coming through a pit lane.
Yeah, and you can see too the advantage of having a lighter car with Danny G. He's starting to range up onto the back of Hardigan's car now.
Yeah, and he's getting an effect of the double draft as well, which is going to help him immensely from there. So he's getting a nice big hole punched through the air there for him by Foster and Hartigan. So that's going to be helping him out an enormous amount. Danny's done a great job of keeping those tyres alive, because you can see those guys behind, Josh Micklemore, Michael Skurlock, they are starting to gain a little bit, but not quite as much as Danny G. Danny G is just doing a great job out there and just keeping brilliant speed.
Yeah, he's there with them, although his last lap he was 0.3 of a second slower than Foster or Hardigan. He's still there or thereabouts.
Yeah, he's not taken a significant drop off of the pace, and you can sort of see that with his positioning. He's still, those tyres are still a little bit fresh, there's still a little bit more rubber on them, obviously, and that's going to make a bit of difference in the overall. But he's just able to get into that draft, and once he gets into that draft, he starts closing up to them that little bit, and then you're sort of seeing a couple of times where Danny G's just got a little bit loose. He's had to correct the car a little bit and then dropped off time a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
And Danny G, I think, is going to... I think he was thinking about pitting then. I think we might see Danny G coming in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, well, he had the last couple of laps. He was 0.3 of a second slower than Foster or Hardigan for both of those laps. So I'm just wondering whether he's figured that his tyres have done the best they can, and he's going to think about bringing the car in and topping up the tanks and getting some fresh rubber on.
Indeed. Just jumping back a little bit, it looks like Michael Skurlock might be having some connection issues as Danny G does come into the pit lane. Danny G is pitting in, so he's coming in now. But yeah, Skurlock was just having a bit of a connection issue. I just saw he was pinging away in the background there. So never fun when that happens. Never easy to race against either.
No, it's quite off-putting when you're at close quarters with another car that's blinking in and out, and it's never fun for yourself either, because you never really know whether you're going to be there or whether you're going to just eventually just suddenly disappear from the race itself.
That's it, or find yourself halfway into another car, which is not an experience you want to have. It's never a good thing when that happens, but the pits are starting to light up now. Danny G is just coming out now. Obviously, running in that slightly clean air, having to catch up to those guys, he was using a bit more fuel. So I imagine we'll see Josh Micklemore pitting relatively soon. Jason Martin's going to stay out there a bit longer, remember, because he came in for that splash and dash. So he's got more fuel on board than the guys around him. So he's going to be able to go a little bit longer than Micklemore. So he'll stay out there a little bit longer as well, see how it goes. At the front, Hartigan's starting to look a little bit racy on Foster. It looks like they might be thinking about switching positions maybe, or Hartigan's got bored of looking at the back of the Goodyear car. So he's looking at trying to make a move.
Yeah.
And we've got Skurlock coming in. We've got Skurlock and Raymond Yeager coming in right now, as well as Matt Hunter. So we've got a few cars coming into the pit lane. Big swath of cars, so we'll see how this goes for them.
And interestingly enough, Jason Martin's pace is still pretty good. Last lap there was a 31.5 as opposed to a 31.7 for both Foster and Hartigan.
Yeah, he's got some good pace there still. His tyres are older, obviously, but he's just doing that Jason Martin thing of being able to hold the pace. Very close moment just coming into the pit lane for Mogo Dornack and Josh Micklemore there. Dornack just locking up a little bit coming into the pit lane, but they managed to stop in time. So he just got there in the nick of time. So no doubt we'll see Hamish Gallagher coming. No, Hamish Gallagher stopped earlier on. So everybody else now is on that alternate strategy. So they're going to stay out as long as they can, and then we'll see what happens once they've all stopped, really. It's going to be interesting. If a caution comes out now, these guys are going to be absolutely laughing. If not, they're going to be able to pit and get those fresh tyres on, and they're not going to go a lap down like the rest of the field.
And you can see the difference there between the fresh tyres and the worn tyres there. Danny G's last lap was a 30.41, so just over a second faster than Foster and Hartigan.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get the undercut from this if we remain green, and touch wood that we do. But he's going to get the undercut from this for sure. And those guys will get the undercut. But then they've got to take those tyres a lot longer into the race, and they've got to make that fuel last longer as well. So depending on how far these guys go, I've got to start doing maths now, so there'll be a slight pause as my brain starts working. So if we sort of carry on like this, these guys can go to the end of the race, whereas everybody else will have to make a splash and dash, I think. So those guys that stayed out and didn't get the extra fuel, they won't be able to make it to the end from what I'm seeing.
So really, it at this stage, it almost looks like Foster and Hartigan might be in the box seat.
Yes, could be good for them. Say that actually, I'm not going to do my notes right there. It will be tight, sorry, it will be tight for fuel on those. They're going to have to do some lifting coasting, whereas everybody else is just going to be able to go full to the end of the race. They're not going to have to worry about fuel at all. Whereas everybody else that stayed out a bit longer, stayed out and just recently pitted, those guys are going to have to, they're going to just struggle a little bit towards the end of the race. People like Josh Micklemore and Mirko Dortnack will be okay. Danny G might be struggling to the end of the race. He might not be able to make it to the very end on fuel. So it also depends if he's running out on his own, of course. If he's got some nice cars in front of him that are giving him a draft, which he won't be, he's going to be using up a lot more fuel as well. So that's the other sort of the other thing for him. He's got to sort of try and save fuel at this spot, but also try not to lose too much speed and time. So it becomes a very delicate balancing act here.
And that's a tough one. I mean, we just saw Danny G sail past his teammate. He's lapping a second a lap faster than the leaders at the moment. So it almost looks like he's putting everything he can into putting some big laps together to try to gap those leaders when they come back out again. So this is going to be really interesting. If he's going to be tight on fuel, it doesn't look like he's doing any fuel saving at this stage.
No, I think he's going full for it. He might, as I said, it's going to be touch and go on those guys to make it to the end on fuel. Ideally, if you stopped on lap 67, so that is Mirko Dortnak and Josh Mickelmore, you're going to be okay to the end, theoretically. The guys that stopped before that, so everyone else that stopped, including Danny G, they're going to be about 2 to 3 laps short of fuel, so they're going to have to make up about 2 or 3 laps of fuel. So it's going to be very, very, very touchy for them guys to get to the end on fuel. So they're going to be wanting a caution to come out, obviously after everyone else is pitted.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and we've seen this week in, week out, where we get to that the last 15, 12 laps of the race, and then all of a sudden you've got a caution.
Yes, and it's so easy to happen, unfortunately. Those cautions can just happen, and when you've got these different strategies, it's very easy for a caution to happen. Bradley Allison is just getting swarmed by a group of cars passing him at the moment. Just drops down to have a little look at him, and a lot of cars just unlapping themselves from Bradley Allison. But those guys were just all over the place getting past him, and of course they're very fast. They've got fresh tyres, they've got fuel, they're racing as hard as they can, but they're coming past guys on very warm tyres who are sort of trying to run it as long as possible now, just in case that caution comes out. So they're not pushing as hard as the other guys around them. They're not going quite as fast as everybody else. But they sort of, they've got to be careful because it's so easy to make a mistake. Lachlan Urquio is coming for a pit stop now, so he's the first of those ones that stopped earlier to come in, along with Michael Shaw and Mick Wilson, actually. So those 3 have pitted. So those guys have come in for their final stop if we remain green. So they're going to be able to go to the end from what I've worked out. So we might see some of the other guys looking to come in. So it looks like Jason Hartigan and Martin Foster might be coming in now, and indeed they do.
And we're starting to see a little bit of drop off there with the tyres there. Danny G's last lap was a 31.3, and the cars that have come in and they've changed tyres. They're now in the low 31s, 31.1 for Mickelmore, Dortnak, Skurlock.
Yeah, they're going to start to be dropping off a little bit, just losing that time a little bit. Jason Martin's coming in now as well, so Jason Martin's going to be hitting. I think we'll probably see Barry Neal maybe looking at coming in. No, he's going to stay out for another lap. So Barry Neal's going to stay out for a lap. Norman Clark's coming in as well. So Hamish Gallagher and Barry Neal now are effectively the front field of the race. How long can they go? Because they all pitted on lap 14 as well. So they've been running in the pack, though, most of this race. So they have got a little bit more fuel on board. Hamish Gallagher coming in now. And the one to watch out for at the moment would be Tristan Koch, I believe. No, he's going to pit as well. So Tristan Koch is pitting in. That little splash and dash he made didn't save him enough fuel to stay out there a bit longer. So those guys have made their pit stops and they're going to come out, and that should be Danny G back into the lead now.
Yep, and that's exactly right. Danny G is back into the lead. 31.4 with the last lap, so maybe he has started doing a little bit of fuel saving now.
Yeah, this is where he's going to have to try and save some fuel in clean air like this. This is not what he wants to see. He wants to have a bit of a pack around him, just to give him some, just to draft basically, and just take a little bit of that air away from the front of that car. The issue he's going to have now, though, is he's not going to be able to stick to the front of those cars. Sorry, to the back of those cars, because he's going to be on quite warm tyres. So he might struggle to keep up with some of those guys once their tyres get up to temperature. You see him just going underneath Bradley Allison right now. So those guys are just working out their positions. Bradley Allison's on those fresh tyres, of course, so he's probably going to come back at Danny G soon, as he's probably going to have a bit more pace. And if Danny G can sit behind him, it could work out quite well for Danny G, because he'll be able to at least save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, and if anyone can, Danny G can certainly do that. We've seen him turn up the wick. Even when his tyres are slightly worn, he's able to keep up with guys who are on much fresher rubber.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill, but those tyres are a bit older than they were with the 14 lap difference, I believe. So it's might be a little bit of a tough call now, just because they are so fresh on at the moment on those cars ahead of him that have just stopped. So Allison's going to pull out a bit of a gap here, and then you might see Danny G just starting to work his way back up there. Just looking back to second place now, there is a gaggle of cars behind him, and that is Josh Micklemore. He's got Mirko Dortnack, Skurlock, Foster, Hartigan, Jaeger, Curtis, JCW, Lachlan Erpio, Barry Neal, and Jason Martin as well. So all of those guys are very much in a line at the moment, and obviously Foster and Hartigan stayed out a bit longer, same with Jason Martin, so they're going to have nice fresh sticky tyres now, so they should be able to clear these cars without too much trouble. But of course, it's easy to catch cars, it's sometimes harder to pass them.
Absolutely, and especially when you've got a few cars line astern like that, it can be a real challenge. But Foster seems to be handling it fairly easily. He's getting through, slicing through the traffic. He's just about to make a move on Mirko Dortnack now, and we can see now going back to Danny G. That brings Foster's almost 7.5 seconds behind Danny G. So in the space of about 3 or 4 laps, he's gone from 11 seconds to 7.5 seconds behind Danny G.
And that's the power of those fresher tyres. You can just see Foster as well, and also if you look behind him, his teammate Jason Hartigan, they're just able to take just completely different lines from everyone else. They can just go so much lower than everyone else and carry that speed because they've got so much more adhesion on those tyres. The tyres are nice and sticky. They can hold that low line without a problem.
And you can see there Micklemore's not arguing the point. Foster's got the much better tyres, and he just makes that easy move on the low line there on Micklemore.
Interesting thing right now, Skurlock has come into the pit lane. Michael Skurlock is pitting in again. So Skurlock pitted in lap. Where was I? What's that number? Skurlock's coming in for a stop, I think. Maybe just a quick refuel and chucking some tyres on there, just as a bit of a gamble. So it's going to be interesting to see what Skurlock's up to, because he's obviously got an idea. Mirko Dortnack's also coming. So there are a couple of guys that are thinking for the end of the race now. So they're going to try the undercut. So obviously they don't think these guys can make it on fuel. So they are going to roll the dice and gamble that these guys aren't going to make it on fuel. They're going to need to make another stop. Foster obviously not going to need another stop. Hartigan not going to need another stop. Neither is Jason Martin or Josh Carroll Walden probably, but might see the rest of the field needing that. So this could be a brilliant call on their behalf. They could make up some good time here. So definitely ones to watch. Very counter strategy for them.
Yeah, well, you know, when you're talking about Skurlock, the silent assassin, that guy's got a mind like a steel trap, so he's going to be thinking about all of those different permutations. He's going to know that there's a few cars there that are not going to be able to make it on their fuel. They're going to have to stop the splash and dash. He's rolled the dice and he said, well, we'll fuel up now, we'll get the tyres on, and we'll run to the end.
We don't want to give him too many compliments. He might not be able to fit out the car afterwards. But yeah, definitely a very cool head on Skurlock, and he often does have some good ideas as he's going around. So this is one of those gambles that's either going to work out perfectly or it's going to end up in a bit of a disaster. But only time can tell us that. It's going to be interesting to see where he does end up coming through this all. But I imagine he's probably going to start climbing back and getting his laps back at least as well. So if he can get back on the lead lap, he's going to be in a very good position.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see now Foster's just over 3.5 seconds behind Danny G. Danny G's last lap time was the 31.5, 30.9 for Foster, 30.8 for Hardigan. So yeah, the advantage with those tyres is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's huge at the moment. Just watching on the timing screen, that gap is going down almost like a stopwatch. It's just falling and tumbling. Every time I look at it, it's just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So they are catching up at a vast rate of knots. But the thing is, Danny G, when he gets caught up to, he's probably going to be able to hook onto the back of these cars, and that's going to be good for him because then he can start saving fuel. Obviously, Danny G is going to need to fuel save as much as he can right now, lifting and coasting. Just rolling his foot off the accelerator in the corners a bit more. Just trying his best not to put the power down. If we jump on board quickly, you can probably hear him as he goes into and out of the corners. He's just being so gentle on that accelerator, lifting it off as he comes in the corner, rolling off the speed a little bit, letting the car just not drink as much petrol. Then when he gets his foot back to the floor, he's just putting it down slowly so not to eat up the gas too much. So just trying his best to sort of keep that car sort of with some fuel in it. And yeah, it's going to be a tricky one for him to get from here, I think, unless we get a caution.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you hit the nail right on the head there. I mean, Foster and Hardigan can catch Danny G, but they're going to have to make their way around him. And I think by the time they catch him, their tyres won't be far off that drop-off point, and their lap times might start evening out a bit more.
Yeah, they will start sort of equaling out with each other as they start getting to that line. It's going to sort of start getting into that position where they're not going to have quite as much advantage as they would have done earlier on, but they're still going to be able to use slightly different lines, play for some different positions, and that could help them in the long run. You also see just behind Foster and Hartigan, Phil Otto. He is the first of the cars that's a lap down at the moment. He's having a good race there with Tristan Koch as well. So those guys are waiting just if that lucky dog happens. They're in the prime position at the moment. Phil Otto is sort of just hanging on there the best he can, just staying in that spot. And Phil Otto actually goes round. He loses the back end. Curse to the commentator there. So I will take full blame for that. Sorry, Phil. And that's put Tristan Koch in the prime position. But yeah, just sitting in that position for that lucky dog if it comes. So those guys are just sticking on the leaders at the moment and trying their best to keep on the back of those guys. They came in a little bit later as well for their pit stop, so they've got slightly fresher tyres too. So again, that's helping them.
I think Otto's going to want to have a few words to you at the end of this broadcast, Carl.
Well, we'll see how the broadcast goes. You never know; things could come good. If not, I will expect a nasty letter in the mail at some stage. Yes. So Danny crosses the line again, lap 99 now, and you can see Foster, Hartigan, and the lap car Koch just coming up behind him now. And they've got great pace at the moment. You can just see they're not catching as fast as they were, but they are coming along pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're catching up, but once again their tyres are starting to even out. 31.6 for Danny G, Foster and Hardigan's 31.3 for both of them. Martin 31.3. JCW 31.3. Barry Neal did a 31.1.
Yeah, Barry Neal is setting some relatively good pace out there. Again, he stopped on lap 81, so he's got some relatively fresh tyres. He's sitting in a relatively good spot as well A bit of clean air, but just in that sort of distance where he's going to get a little bit of a draft from JCW too. So he's not in a bad spot at the moment. Just behind him is Skurlock, just working his way up the field on those nice fresh tyres and with all of that fuel on board as well. This is the thing though for Danny G. His tyres are probably balanced out relatively equal to those cars behind him, but he's got a fuel save. And this is where Foster and Hartigan are going to have him, because they're going to be able to, they don't have to worry about the fuel at the moment. They can just go as hard as they want to. Whereas Danny G, if he gets pushed along here, if he has to drive to his fullest, he's going to be really struggling for fuel. We've only got 29 laps to go. That's where the math's gone wrong there. 20-something laps to 31 laps to go now. But he's going to have to do his best to sort of not push too hard, because he might just run out of fuel if it remains green, or he's going to have to make that splash and dash too. Jason Hartigan just getting so close to the wall then.
Yeah, he uses every single millimetre of track, Jason Hartigan, and looks like Foster's like looking left, looking right, looking for a gap here to make a move on Danny G. He does not want to be behind him.
No, he wants to get past, and he doesn't want to allow his teammate underneath him either. And this is where those tyres are just going to be that little bit worn, and it's going to be a bit harder for him to make that dive down the inside like we saw to his teammate, as we see, I think we see Phil Otto in the background having a big moment on the back straights, managed to keep the car going straight though. But this is where those tyres are going to start fading. What they've got to try and do is force Danny G onto that low line, and then they might be able to get past. So it's going to be a bit of a close race here now. So they're really pushing it, and you can see this is where the sort of dirty air starts affecting it. You get the draft, you get a little bit of lift off the front of the car as well, so car behaves differently, and this can start throwing you off a little bit. But Foster is really putting pressure on Danny G at the moment. They are nose to tail at the moment. Danny G's running up high. He's just lost a little bit of adhesion. He's managed to catch it though. He managed to catch that snap and get back in front of Foster. So he is doing a great job of holding both of them up and keeping them behind him, because again, that's going to be useful if a caution comes out. He wants to be in front if a caution comes out. But Foster might have him here. He's got a good run down the inside. Danny G can position the car right here. Then he'll be okay. But Foster looks to have a pretty good run at the moment. So he's going to come up right behind Danny G. And he's probably going to go down the inside now. Try get underneath him. Not quite there yet though.
So do you think at this stage they're pushing Danny G and they're trying to force him to use that fuel, get away from that fuel saving?
Yes, they're forcing him to have to pit again. His teammate Josh Mickelmore has had to stop again, I believe. No, sorry, he hasn't. Sorry, sorry, that was wrong. He's just getting lapped. Sorry, I thought he'd actually stopped there for a moment. But yeah, they are pushing him along and they're hurrying him, and this is going to force him to run out of fuel because he's got nobody in front of him that's giving him the breathing space. So he's not getting any fuel saving at all. And we saw that earlier on, he had to stop relatively early. He had to stop quite early compared to a lot of the other drivers that were running in the garage. So this is not going to be helping Danny G's race if we remain green. He's going to be very, very uncomfortable for that fuel level.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting. So Foster and Hartigan are hoping for a green race to the finish. Danny G is going to be praying for a pace car here.
Absolutely, yes. He's really, if that pace car comes out for Danny G, he's going to be very happy and relieved. As we see Josh Mickelmore getting down the inside now, and he's trying to get his lap back. He wants to stay the car that's one lap down, as Foster gets a good run down the inside again, but can't quite make it stick, doesn't get the adhesion he needs, doesn't get the speed off the corner he needs, but he's got the inside line again. Danny G's still on that outside line.
Oh, this is close!
Slightly. There is a little bump. Foster's going to lose a bit of speed here. That's going to allow Mickelmore to come down the inside. Jason Hartigan on the outside. Hartigan's going to take over Foster's position. That little side bump's got Foster back that tiny bit, and that's given Danny G a little bit of breathing room.
And this is, and I guess this is where the danger zone comes in, because Mickelmore's not played into this. He's a lap down, but he's trying to get his lap back, so he's going to be racing as hard as he can, and also trying to help his teammate out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Mickelmore has that bit more fuel on board, so he can push a little bit harder now. and he's slotted himself in a really good spot at the moment between the two JP Simshed cars, which is an ideal position. He can just sit in front of Foster and help Danny G just get a little bit of breathing room here as Tristan Koch just loses the rear end, manages to catch it back on that back straight. Foster goes down the inside of Micklemore now, and he's going to try and get that position back. He wants to be in front of Micklemore. He wants to be behind his teammate. He wants to be pushing for that race win. Foster's got back in front of Micklemore, and now the race is back on. Hartigan is now taking on Danny G. He's going to go down the inside. Will he make this one stick? We've seen the inside can be quite tricky. Looks like he might actually have it here, but Danny G's going to get a better run off the corner. All going to be this drag race to the next corner. Danny G looks to have it still. And Danny G has just managed to keep it there. Hartigan's going to have to keep low right now. And Danny G positions the car perfectly to cut Hartigan off, to stop him having that little bit of speed.
This is heart and mouth stuff. I mean, if Danny G is fuel compromised, this is really going to hurt him. Eventually, he's going to have to blink and go into the pits. Otherwise, it could be game over for him.
Yeah, I can't see him making it on fuel. This could be an advantage for Hartigan as Danny G just goes a little bit low there. If Hartigan can catch him on the low line, if Hartigan can get on the outside of Danny G, then that will be what they need to do. That will let them get past. But Danny G is just keeping that high line for himself. He's keeping that mid to high line and just blocking the drivers behind him. You can see there Hartigan just losing the front end there. Just as the air goes off that front spoiler. These cars are not aero heavy, but they do have aerodynamics. They do have downforce. When you get nose to tail with a car like that, all of a sudden the car becomes loose on the front. You lose some of that weight over the front axle, and the car just slides a little bit. And that's what happened there to Jason Hartigan, and this is giving Danny G another little bit of respite, but only for a straight or two.
Yeah, and Jason Hartigan's right back there with him, and he's putting the pressure on again. And Foster is right behind Hartigan, just waiting for an opportunity to jump into the mix as well.
Yeah, he's really pushing it, but this is brilliant defensive driving from Danny G at the moment. He is doing a blinder as Foster goes down the inside of his teammate Hartigan. These two are going to have a bit of a race now. It looks like Foster's got that position back. Foster is coming back to attack Danny G, who went side by side with him. They had a little bit of a run last time round. So will Foster look to return that favour? That's the big question. Rubbing is racing, of course, in NASCAR. It's not frowned upon. As long as you don't wreck your opponent, that's fine. But a little bit of a kiss here and there between doors, nothing wrong with that at all. One thing I do want to point out, though, is behind these guys is Jason Martin. This is helping him out enormously. Jason Martin, Barry Neal, Joshua Barrel Walden, and Hamish Gallagher. These guys are getting helped out a lot because Danny G is slowing these cars down. He's making them fall back into their grasp. And he's also making these guys use up their tyres. Obviously, when you're fighting tooth and nail like this behind a car and losing a bit of your aero, your front of your car does go a little bit loose across the corners and you use up that tyre life. So what happens now is Foster and Hartigan are going to start to struggle a little bit on tyres, so their tyre wear is going to come into it, and this could work out well for Jason Martin if he can catch up to them.
Yeah, his lap times are looking good. Two tenths of a second faster than the front runners there last lap for Jason Martin. So, and this is doing exactly what you said. It's slowing them up and it's allowing Jason Martin to slowly catch up.
Yeah, if these guys had got past Danny G first time round, they would be long gone right now. We would have seen them sailing away from him. But Danny G's defensive driving here has been absolutely spot on. Just holding Foster behind him, just holding that perfect line as well, mid-corner, just so nobody can get higher than him. They can only go underneath him, which is not the best way to pass here tonight. We've seen that it's all about the exit speed here. Foster tries to make a look for it, but just doesn't have that adhesion again. He just needs that little bit of extra tyre stickiness to get that move made. But he's getting some good runs. Looks like he's going to go down the inside again. He might throw the dummy, or he might try for a move. Oh, just see Danny G just running up high there, and Did Hardigan make contact with the wall there? Maybe just the slightest touch of the wall there. If he had a wing mirror, it would be long gone. Foster's getting a good run here. He just needs to get it on the outside. Foster's lost the front end again, though. Glips down again, and this is going to give Hardigan a chance to get past his teammate once more. It's nail-biting stuff here at the front of the field for the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're on lap 120, so 13 laps to go. Is it going to be lucky for some, unlucky for others? We'll soon find out.
Yeah, this has been going on for a fair few laps now. Danny G seems to have a breather now. They've fallen off the back of him a little bit, but it's still that question mark as to whether he's got enough fuel. I mean, he's racing pretty hard now. I mean, I would expect that he's definitely going to know whether he's got enough or not. He's racing like he's got enough fuel to get to the end of this race.
Yeah, he looks to be just putting the pedal down. He looks to be sort of absolutely hammering it right now. So he is really going for it. But is he just trying to give them... trying to force Foster and Hardigan to chase a little bit to try and scrub their tyres? We've seen Matt Hunter, I think it is there now, out on fresh tyres, and he's going to start coming past these guys as well. So Matt Hunter's coming back to get his laps back. He's 2 laps down at the moment, but he's so much faster because of those fresh tyres. And Danny G's pitting. So Danny G is finally making the move. He can't stay out there any longer. I thought this would be the case because he was just pushing the car much faster, just trying to get a good in lap. But he's having to pit now. And this is where we're going to see a few cars coming in. You just see Foster just flying away from Hardigan now. He has just launched himself away and gotten a good second lead over his teammate right there. You can just see how much they were being held back.
Yeah, you know that that Foster knows that if he stays, if he keeps Hardigan too close to the back of him, Hardigan is a real threat. Teammates, absolutely, but they will race for the win.
Yeah, now somebody on a hard charge as well as Barry Neal. Not had a chance to look back a little bit further. Not had a chance to look a little bit further down the field, but Barry Neal has got past Jason Martin. Is on absolute flyers at the moment. He is setting some seriously good lap times. Barry Neal on that last lap was a 31.5 compared to our leaders, which were a 31.7. Yeah,
fantastic. Great to see Barry Neal occupying that third spot. Yeah, fantastic race by Barry tonight, and he's put the car exactly where he needs it to be, and he's just churning out those fast laps, although Jason Martin's turned the wick up a little bit as well with a 31.5 the last lap.
Yeah, Jason Martin's not the one to let him go, and just behind Jason Martin you can see the orange car of Danny G now just coming out of the pit lane, and you can see he's dropped a lap, and he's dropped, most importantly, behind Michael Skurlock. So he's going to have to work his way back up past Skurlock. And this was what Skurlock was hoping for, was for these guys to pit in, maybe a little bit later in the race, so they didn't have a chance to catch him up. So if we get some more stops, this could work out well for Skurlock. Again, a bit of a risky play, but it's not paying off too well at the moment. But you can see the method to his madness.
Yeah, absolutely. And right about now, Ed Foster, he's checked out. He's almost a second ahead of Hardigan. And 4.5 seconds down the road is Barry Neal working at catching up to them, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Foster and Hardigan and Barry Neal are going to be having everything crossed, hoping for no pace car.
Yeah, that's it. We don't want to see a caution come out anywhere now. We want to see green to the flag for sure, because this has been a great race all night long. Lap 127 now. Barry Neal and Jason Martin having a good battle. Also in the top 10, Bradley Allison and Raymond Yeager are having a good little spat with each other for P10. Great drives by those two. Bradley Allison starting in 19th, Raymond Yeager starting 20th. So they've worked their way up the field. Top driver for working well up the field tonight, though, is Hamish Gallagher. 24 positions gained, up into 6th place at the moment. So brilliant job by him. Really getting some good positions up to that area. So paying off well for him. Another driver that's it worked out for that little bit of extra fuel, little splash and dash earlier on, Tristan Koch. We've not talked about him too much, but he's sitting just behind Josh Micklemore at the moment in 12th place. Really good run for Tristan Koch there. That little bit of extra fuel on board helped him go a little bit longer, and that's put him into a really good position for this race.
Yeah, fantastic racing by Tristan. Great strategy, and yeah, put him in the right place. Absolutely.
Although Raymond Yeager's actually coming into the pit lane, I believe, so that's going to drop him down a fair bit, unfortunately. So that will drop him down a few positions. He's just having to make that splash and dash at the end. So we might see a few other cars having to do that, and that is what we were saying about Michael Skurlock. He was waiting for it. More importantly, at the front of the field, Jason Hartigan has got past Matt Hunter and is now chasing down his teammate. He is really putting the hammer down and is coming back across.
Oh, how close to the wall was that?
You could not get much closer than that. There was absolutely nothing between Hartigan and the wall there, and we've seen that so many times this evening. He is able to run that high line. He is able to just run perfectly against that wall. Jason Hartigan, I believe he uses VR for this, so he sort of has that little bit of advantage with that aspect. That when you sort of use VR, it can help you just get that better spatial awareness. Foster tends to use a widescreen monitor, nice big, one of those really nice fancy widescreens, of course. Lap 131 now, though. Not long to do it. He's only got a couple of laps to go.
Yeah, so he'll certainly be looking to range up on Foster and try a move, but he's also smart enough to know that if he can't if he can't get it done cleanly, he's not going to put both of them at risk.
And Josh Micklemore has had to come into the pits as well. So Micklemore has had to come in. He couldn't save enough fuel. So this is working well for Skurlock. He's going to get some positions. But at the front, Hartigan is really closing in on Foster right now as they come across the line for the white flag. The Hybrid Racing Solutions white flag will come out this time round. And we've got one lap to go here for the Brixie ANZCAR Cup at Las Vegas. Foster and Hartigan are neck and neck at the moment.
And while we've been watching this battle, Jason Martin's been able to make his way around Barry Neal.
Yes, Jason Martin getting up there. But eyes at the front of the field now. It is Hartigan's last chance. And is he close enough? I don't think he is. I think this could be Foster's race. He's just got to get around this last corner now. Coming through there. Hartigan is going to try his best to get a bit of a draft here. But Foster's going to cross the line, get the checkered flag, and get the win.
Fantastic racing by Foster and Hartigan. They used that first caution to their advantage, and it ended up by paying off for them.
It did. Worked out really well for them. So great win there. Just coming in early, worked out well for them. Got to put our hats off though for Danny G. His finishing position does not speak about his racecraft tonight. He managed to work his way up to 12th, just behind Michael Skurlock. So that early stop from Michael Skurlock did end up paying off for him, getting him into 11th place. But boy, that was a race. That was one heck of a race to have. Brilliant driving.
Absolutely. Great to see Barry Neal in 4th place, JCW in 5th, Hamish Gallagher in 6th, Norman Clark in 7th, with Bradley Allison in 8th and Lachlan Uquio in 9th, rounding out the top 10, Tristan Koch. So fantastic to see some new faces up the pointy end of the grid tonight, or the field tonight, I should say.
Yeah, and absolute hats off for Tristan Koch as well, because that was a brilliant little decision he made coming in for that extra splash and dash. That paid dividends for him. He came in for 3 stops in the end, I believe. Yeah, he came in for 3 stops. He's pitted on lap 180. He was the first car to come in. Came in just before Michael Skurlock, and that got him that position over Skurley. So brilliant job for Tristan Koch. Well done. But great race at the front of the field. Those top 3 gave us one heck of an exciting finish.
Yeah, fantastic. I can take a breath now.
Yes, can finally take a breath and have a quick drink of water after that, and put some eye drops in our eyes. I think it was eyes glued to the screen there for sure. So just going through the rest of the field, P11 was Michael Skurlock with Danny G in 12th. brilliant drive from Danny G all night. Just unfortunate on fuel there. Mirko Dortnack managed to get 13th with Phil Otto 14th. Sorry about that, Phil. Matt Hunter in 15th with Raymond Jaeger in 16th. 17th was Josh Micklemore with Riley Curtis in 18th. 19th was Adam Rosell with Michael Schroeder 20th. Stephen Williams 21st. 22nd was Michael Shaw with Mick Wilson, Jason Williams, Bill Hickey, and S. Patterson in 26th, out of the race a little bit earlier on. But what a brilliant race there. And I imagine you're quite happy with that one, JP. 2 cars in the top 2.
The only thing I could wish for would be 3 cars in the top 3, but let's not be greedy. I'll take 2 cars in the top 2 any day of the week.
Well, you got all the cars in the top 10, didn't you, tonight?
Actually, we did all of the JP Simshed cars in the top 10 tonight, so that's absolutely fantastic.
That's definitely something to cheer about for sure. So as drivers start to come into the green room, we'll try and grab them one by one. We'll grab our 3rd place man first. I think we'll go from 3rd to 1st.
All right, so let's see if we can find.
That's if he appears. That's the tricky one. I saw the wrong Jason in there.
Let's give him a minute to compose himself and get himself into the green room. But while we're doing that, I'll just go through the calendar of events for the coming week. We usually have the Club Day Masters on the Monday, but this Monday will be a break. On Tuesdays, of course, we've got the Nationwide Tracking Systems V8 Evolution Championship. 86 cars took to the field last Tuesday, and it was a phenomenal race. This week we'll be at Mid-Ohio Raceway. Wednesday night we have Split 2 with the drivers. We call it the driver's couch for Split 2. For the replay, and then of course every Thursday the ANZCAR Britzy Cup.
Absolutely, and it looks like we got Jason Martin in there, so we will grab him down once we can.
All right.
So, for Mitch Motorsport in 3rd place, we have Jason Martin. How are you going, Jason?
Yeah, not too bad, but yeah, not happy with that race. I didn't go that well. I struggled all night and just got a bit lucky with a yellow.
And I actually wanted to ask you about that because you seem to just drop off quite a lot at the start of the race. Did something happen then, or was it a little bit of a mistake, or just something strange happened for you?
No, that was just my strategy. In practice, I knew I was having lots of trouble with tyre wear here, so I thought I'll just drop down the back a little bit and save my stuff and see if I can get a decent result.
Well, decent result you did get, a P3 finish, which is, not as high as we usually see, but still a very good result for tonight. Obviously, we heard they have updated the tyre model, things like that again, some changes there. Did you notice much difference out there tonight?
Yeah, sure did. They seem to get extremely hot. There's not much tyre wear, but they get real hot and it becomes a bit slippery and hard to drive.
Yeah, we did see the cars getting away at the back end quite a bit tonight, so that explains that one for sure. Obviously, your first stop as well, you didn't put any tyres on there.
Noticed, did you?
Yes, we do. We see it all up here in the booth. We keep an eye on you guys. Just for the strategy call on that, was that just to get some track position, or were you just thinking about tyre saving at that stage?
I was sort of just playing games and hoping to trick a few people into using up their tyres.
Well, in the end, it worked out well for you because you had that little bit of extra fuel on there, could go a bit longer, and then obviously take that second stop later in to get home on fuel, of course, which paid off quite well for you in the end. We saw a really good fight between yourself and Barry Neal as well. Very close at the end between you two. We saw Barry get past you a couple of times, and you get past him. So looked like it was quite fun out there, if not a bit hard night's work.
Pretty good fun to drive when it's that loose, but yeah, he got by me and I thought I was going to settle for 4th, but then with about 5 or so laps to go, I noticed I was coming back at him and yeah, I was able to get by again.
No, awesome job out there, and a well-deserved third place for you. It did not look easy at all out there, and it was great to see so many different strategies paying off as well. So thank you very much for that. Before I let you skedaddle, of course, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight, and the sponsors and all that kind of thing.
Bad luck to Danny G and Josh tonight. In practice, they were absolutely flying and they were good on long runs. So if they had a bit more luck with the yellows, things could have worked out a lot better for them. So bad luck. BK Designs, got to thank them. ANZCAR for the series. And JP Simshed for the broadcast.
You're always welcome. And yeah, big condolences to Danny G there, because he put on a great show at the end. It was some fantastic racing. You're going to enjoy watching that one back, I'm sure. And we heard that that Josh Micklemore was a bit sick tonight as well. So give him all our best from the booth.
I will.
Thank you so much. Jason Martin there for the Mitch Motorsport team, getting P3 in the end. Great job towards the end of that one with that little bit of counter strategy. We'll grab down the second place man now for JP Simshed, Mr. Jason Hartigan. Jason, how are you going?
Hey, Carl. Hey, JP. How's it going?
Hey, Jason. Congratulations, mate.
Yeah, cheers, man. Team 1-2. First one in the cup, so...
Fantastic. I said I told Carl the only thing better than a team 1-2 would have been a 1-2-3, but I won't be greedy.
But he did get every car in the top 10, so I mean, you know, he doesn't ask for much, does he, as a boss?
No, he's pretty hard.
Looks like a pretty tricky race out there with tyres, obviously, with the slight changes. We heard from Jason Martin before, the tyres were getting quite hot. What was your experience out there tonight?
Yeah. After about 20 laps, they sort of the rear end gets a bit slidey and squishy underneath you. But when we before we pitted before that last pit stop, the car actually sort of comes back to you. If you're because I found if you drove it hard into the turn, you actually scrub the front off, so you sort of balance out the wear a bit more, and that sort of helped later on. But yeah, I mean, I was quite happy just sitting behind Ed. He needed the points more than I did because he's further up in the chase. So I'm sure he'll hand me one later on at some other point.
Well, probably not on the last race, I imagine, but we'll help you out somewhere along the line, I'm sure. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you guys, you had a little bit of raciness between each other, but we did see you sort of not pushing each other too hard tonight. But the battle with Danny G, that looked like a hard one.
Yeah, Danny was he was on fire. Just wherever he put the car was the right spot at the right time. Ed tried a couple of times. He got loose out of 4 once, and I went around the outside, and I tried it. I knew I was sort of strong through 1 and 2, so I sort of just threw it up there. But yeah, Danny was just so strong through 3 and 4, and you just couldn't get him. So and running that super low line for too long just heats up that rear. So yeah, couldn't do anything about it in the end. But we got him because he had to pit, so that was lucky.
That's it. I was going to ask, were you two pushing him a bit harder, just thinking he wasn't going to make it on fuel towards the end?
We weren't sure, but then I sort of said to Ed, like, you know, he pitted before Micklemore. Micklemore was saving hard, you know. So, yeah, we're sort of thinking that he would pit, but yeah, me and Ed just want to sort of get out in front of him so we could then just run our own race to the end, you know. But yeah, it sort of worked out in the end. So.
Yeah, obviously early call for the caution flag. We only had 1 caution tonight, which paid off for you guys extremely well, taking those tyres early on, and just that fuel, obviously, meaning you only had to make the 1 extra pit stop. That must have made a big help for you as well tonight. Yeah,
we sort of worked it out earlier in the week how much sort of fuel we needed. And I guess the caution probably came at the right time where it's like, do you pit, do you not pit sort of thing. So we just decided just to pit, get it out of the way, get the fuel to the end, and then at least we're not having to fuel save later on or something like that. So yeah, it's basically the main reason why we did it.
Yeah, and that first lap after the caution, well, because we had 2 cautions, but the little bit between the cautions there, we saw you get up from way back in the midfield up to something like 5th or 6th position. So obviously you're driving a little bit harder for that little bit of the race.
Yeah, I was just. I had fresh tyres on everyone, so I was just like, I'm just going to send it, see what happens. Just being a bit aggressive, but it's just probably the way I drive sometimes.
That's not like you.
No, I'm never aggressive. No.
One more thing before I let you go as well. Just wanted to ask, because of your driving style, you get so close to the wall. How do you do it? How do you do it?
VR helps. That helps a lot.
You do realise I got to take twice my blood pressure medicine allocation tonight.
It's funny because Eddie actually mentioned that when I was behind him. He was like, "Oh, every time we come out of turn 2, you give me heart palpitations against so close to the wall."
Yeah, I need a button to revive JP. I'm pretty sure it's with you guys in the lead, especially when you get close to the wall, because he went silent for a few minutes, and I had a little zap, and he came back to us. But yeah, I sort of wondered how much VR helped for that, because obviously it must give you a better spatial awareness.
Oh yeah, look, it does. You don't get a very good field of view of VR. Like, I mean, I've got 110 degrees or something, so it's not like, I think a super wide monitor you get more viewing angle. But yeah, I think I've always been like that. Always just push the car to right to where the limit of where I can push it on any sort of track. So I guess that's probably where it comes from as well.
That's all right. You keep pushing the car. I'll go and renew my blood pressure medication tomorrow.
All right, Jason, before we let you go, of course, these shout outs and all of those little things.
Yeah, shout out to all the boys. We're working really hard, getting a good sort of flow going in the team and everything, and yeah, it's going really good. All the JPSS crew, all going well, and all of our sponsors, yeah, they put in a lot of effort for us. Like Dragon RC, National Tracking Systems, Goodyear Auto Care, a Bruzy Racewear, VR covers, and yeah, you guys were putting on a good show, obviously.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy watching this one back, Jason. It's quite entertaining.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
We'll catch you again. Jason Hardigan there for the JP Simshed team. So next up, we will grab the winner for the race, Edward Foster. Edward Foster, congratulations there. You managed to get all of your cars in the top 10.
Yeah, it was a great night. Obviously, there's one position at the top that matters quite a lot to us at the moment.
We'll get to that eventually.
Definitely to bring all the cars home. Just testament to the work the guys have been doing behind the scenes to prepare for these races. They all sort of put their best foot forward tonight and managed to bring every car home in the top 10, which is we're stoked with.
Yeah, and before we get to the finish of the race, I want to go back a little bit earlier on, because you had a bit of a moment coming off the corner.
A bit.
It looks like a little bit of a moment where a brown alert would have happened. So obviously it looked like your race was going to go terrible from then. Talk us through what you felt when that happened.
Well, it was interesting because obviously I'd run around in practice here and so on and tested out sort of new tyres and worn tyres and so on. I knew the tyres were a little bit slippy when they were cold, but the car just snapped. Never had that happen before. Me and Hardigan were talking about it after, and we're just wondering, because he was right on my bumper at that point, and we're just wondering if maybe he took a little bit of air off the spoiler or something. But it was certainly not something that I've experienced before. I mean, it was always a bit sketchy. It was really sort of on the limit, but not to the point that it would just snap away like that. And it was actually, I wondered if I was going to gather it back up. I seriously thought I was going to wind up facing the wrong way, and I was nearly like a pilot where both his engines quit, just looking for a big vacant spot to land. It was almost that kind of scenario, but I managed to gather it up and get going again, and spent a couple of laps cooling the rear tyres off, and then starting to make some headway back forward.
Yeah, luckily no Hudson River landings for you tonight. It obviously went a lot better when that caution came out. You guys came in for the stop, and we talked to Jason before, and you guys worked it out before for fuel. So obviously you were hoping no more cautions for the rest of the night after that.
Well, obviously having no more cautions after that was going to be the easiest way for us to do it. But if another caution had came out and we all had to come down, change tyres again, and just have a total reset, then we were still going to be, depending obviously when it came out, but we were still going to be around about sort of in that front area. So realistically, it was just from that first lap and the first caution and everything, I was just trying to get back up there. I wasn't really thinking too much in terms of going out there and winning the race. Obviously, we'd seen what some of the other I guess, main protagonists were doing, and that it was a bit of a mixed bag amongst what they decided to do. But it was fairly clear what we wanted to do. We just felt it was the safest option. Obviously, if it ran along to the end, then that was going to be great for us because we're in a good spot. But it was, if we did get a caution, it wasn't the end of the world. So it was a bit of a percentage play, really.
Yeah, and that percentage worked off in the end. But it looks like it was some serious hard racing between yourself and Danny G for those last. Oh, there was quite a few laps. I can't even remember how many laps because it was so full on. Some seriously good racing out there, though. Obviously, I had a little bit of a door up, but yeah, that battle was fantastic.
I mean, yeah, I've got to give a shout out and a credit to him, and I gave him a bit of a shout out after the race. Like, he drove so incredibly well. It was fantastic. Like, even in the early stages when he was on much older tyres than ours, he began to close me and Hardigan down at the front before he had to peel off and go in the pits, and his tyres were much older than ours. And then when everything sort of cycled back through and we were the ones now closing in on him, caught up to him pretty easy. And he was just holding this top line through 1 and 2, which was working for him, and I could not match it. Like, I tried to, I'm not sure if it was just the way the car's behaving in the draft or just how well he was driving, but I could not match the line that he was taking out the top there. And tried to get underneath him a couple of times, but of course you're taking a bit of a tighter line when you do that. Try to feed the power in, and the back end just steps out. And of course, the more I did that, the more it heated up those rear tyres and the less grip I had. So I made a bit of a mistake. I let Jason through to have a crack at him. Jason wasn't able to get it done either, so we're sitting there trying to almost count back when he pitted. We're like, surely he's got to come in again. Surely he can't make it to the end. And we saw him peel off, but I mean, he finished P12 and a lap down, and he deserves better than that because he was absolutely on fire. So yeah, congrats to him.
Yeah, it was a brilliant spectacle to behold up here in the booth, and of course, obviously, win number 2 for the season in the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup. But most importantly, win number 1 in the chase, and that's got to be a really nice one to have for you. Yeah,
look, it's nice. I mean, it's the first time that I'd ever won more than one race in any ANZCAR season was actually the Grand National. And I'd never taken 2 wins in any season before. So I obviously had that, and now been able to come in and take a second win in the Cup, which is, of course, the top tier that everyone's sort of, try to put their best foot forward in. So, yeah, really, really happy to be able to notch a second one. Proves that New Hampshire wasn't a fluke, especially on a completely different type of track like this one is. As far as the points situation goes, I'm still obviously a long way behind. I mean, it's that result at Darlington with old mate really hurt us. So it's still, Jason, of course, even nights when Martin has a bad night, he still manages to drive it up to P3. So, it's really a case of, we haven't really gained that much on him. I think I came in 25 points behind. I might be something like 19 or something behind now, maybe a bit less or more. Sorry, maybe a bit more. Look, I'm not really thinking too much about that. I'm just taking it race by race and see what happens. I'm not really sort of harbouring any great ambitions of taking out the championship. I think the opposition's going to be too strong for us this time. But, it's really nice to be able to grab a win anyway and at least put ourselves in that conversation. Yeah, it's great to have you up there, and by my terrible maths, I think you're going to be put back into second place in the chase at the moment, behind Jason Martin, because Micklemore had a bit of an unfortunate night as well. It's good to see you up there. It's good to see another victory as well. And like I said, just beginning as well, it's just so great for the team just having all the cars in the top 10 tonight. I imagine you are so proud of that. Yeah, I mean, I think last race when I was talking to you guys, had a little bit of a comment there about how well these guys are doing, and they're doing fantastically well. The way that they're just all pitching in, they're all putting in, and I never ask these guys for any specific result. I never go out there and demand that they achieve X, Y, and Z. Just always try to just give them the tools to do their job, and then on race day, just ask them to come out and do their best. Minimise the mistakes if they can, and just do the best that they absolutely can. And tonight shows what they're capable of and what they're becoming more and more capable of. And I think it's going to be a strong team running in the future as well. So this is only our first year. We're really sort of gelling with every passing race, and going into next year, it's going to be fun too. So love working with them. Can't wait.
It's good news for the future, and it can only get better really from here. It's definitely a thing of that. So before I let you skedaddle, anything you'd like to say tonight, and of course mentions to sponsors and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course. The first one I want to just give a quick mention to is Jason Hardigan as well. He just worked with me really nicely all night. So there's every chance that he would have been able to fight me for the win, and we could have been banging doors and carrying on. But we just had he and I have got a really good communication going, and sort of respect the scenario that each one of us is in. So I've got to pass on a special thanks to him for that. And also, of course, our sponsors, Goodyear Auto Kawarana. Hope you're watching, Aaron. Hope you're feeling well. Also, we've got Cars for Hope and Racing with Autism Australia, which have come on fairly recently. We've got Nationwide Tracking Systems, Dragon RC, Abruzzi Raceware, Track Racer. All these guys who come on board with us and come on this great ride with us. So, great to have those on board as well. And, hopefully we can keep delivering for them.
Yeah, it's been a good season for yourself. Just before I let you go as well, just quick mention for ANZCAR aspects of things. Of course, we've got Talladega coming up next. I'm sure you didn't want to hear that one. But Talladega coming up next for the Cup. But of course, we've got the trucks and also the Wednesday night series now.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess people who don't watch regularly wouldn't necessarily know that I'm one of the guys who organises the series along with Matt Hunter and Danny G. We all kind of pitch in together and put this on for everyone. And so, of course, we've got the Cup, which has just been running gangbusters all year. It's been a fantastic year for the Cup, and the trucks, which run Monday, which are always really popular. And we've almost got only a couple of the Cup guys are actually running in the trucks at the moment. It's almost a completely separate field there of new guys who are there sort of developing their skills and guys who just really enjoy racing the truck. And we've also got the Wednesday night speedway that's just started up. We had the first round on Wednesday night. That was really, really fun. Running 2 shorter races per night using some of the short track cars, street stocks, late models, that type of thing. So if anybody wants to come out and join us for those, we had an absolute blast last time. Super low key. We all just sit there and talk rubbish to each other all race and just enjoy banging panels really. So if anybody wants to come out and join that, please do, because the more the merrier.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ed, and we will catch you again, I'm sure, before the chase is out. Have a good night.
Thank you. See you later.
Edward Foster there for JP Simshed team. Another great finish for him. Been a strong season for him, and of course for you, JP, for your team. You're obviously quite happy with that one, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Really proud of what the guys have done. All of them in the team have just gone from strength to strength. I mean, this is a very, very young team. First year with these guys driving together. Some of these guys, it's the first time even driving ovals. So to be where they are now, very happy. Yeah,
and as Ed said there, Jason Martin is a hard one to beat. Even when he's having a bad night, he manages to finish in that top 3, and it is so very true. Mitch Motorsport. Obviously, having to go up against them is a tricky thing indeed. Very strong competition there. And, what a great race. Danny G just giving us great driving out there. Thanks to all the drivers tonight. You gave us a brilliant one to broadcast. So that's going to be it for tonight, obviously. We will catch you next time out. That will be at Talladega. So same time, same place, just a different date, of course. That one's coming up next week, I'm pretty sure. So we'll be at Talladega Speedway on September the 24th, 90 laps. And, super speedways, anything can happen, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be another interesting one. I'm looking forward to this one.
Sure are. All right, guys, until next time, this is me, Colby, and obviously JP. And we'll be wishing you all a good night.